You know what, this second half of 2021 has not been particularly kind to me, but between me getting ill and the stresses of university making me want to throw myself off a bridge, I can at least take solace in the fact that I'm well enough to make a comedy review on the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, because oh boy, never before have I seen such a treasure trove of joke material. Safe to say, guys, I'm going to be having some fun today. Hello guys, and welcome to FP1 and the comedy review, the show hosted by a man whose immune system is about as reliable as a 2021 Mercedes engine. This weekend, it was the penultimate round of the season, as the gap between #blessed and the Dutch Messiah was cut to just 8 points after Qatar, and where better to hold it than the Jeddah Corniche circuit, a track promising incredible action and scintillating speeds, provided it was actually ready in time for the weekend. We'll find out soon enough whether those promises would be met, but before we dive into all the action, if this is your first time here, or you're just searching up my name to dislike every video, I mean, good luck with that one now, why not just subscribe? You'll end up listening to my beautiful voice every week, and be able to dislike the videos even quicker. Anyway, let's get started and jump into the comedy review of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So, heading into the race weekend, all the talk was on one topic: whether we'd actually get a race weekend at all. When Formula 1 announced it was headed to Saudi Arabia, Nikita Mazepin must have been delighted, given that for one weekend this year, he'd only be the second most controversial thing in the paddock. Speaking of the paddock, as everyone rocked up to the circuit on Thursday, they started to realise that it wasn't really finished yet, and that the bits that were finished were falling apart quicker than Manchester United this season. It just seemed like F1 bought the Chinese knockoff version of Singapore. In other words, the track would break as soon as you took it home, and would probably kill you in the long term. In other news, Jack Dorsey stepped down as the CEO of Twitter. However, though I'd hoped he'd have just deleted the site from existence on his way out, he sadly didn't, meaning we still had to put up with all the F1 community this weekend. With that out of the way, let's get started with first practice, around the track which turned out to have more corners than its nation has human rights, and it would be Mercedes topping the timesheets early on, Hamilton in P1 with Bottas third, after Porridge Man got his taste of the now traditional Nikita Mazepin treatment early on. Italian Jesus put in another strong performance in fifth, as he prepares to take part in the Vacuum Cleaner World Championship next year, while Yuki Tsunoda stopped himself from causing any more red flags this season by forgetting how to get out of his pit box. Speaking of red flags, there was a surprising lack of them during the first hour of practice. Even the king of crashing on street circuits, Charles Leclerc, kept it out of the wall. Oh, never mind, here we go. Leclerc's oopsie daisy into the now infamous turn 22 brought second practice to a close, in a session that was once again headed by #blessed in the Mercedes. This wouldn't be the end to Ferrari's problems, however, as Carlos Sainz had a scare midway through the session too, in what turned out to just be him preparing for qualifying on Saturday. There is one more driver we need to talk about here, but for that we need to bring back an old segment to the comedy review, and don't worry, it's not Hamilton's flaps. Yes, it's time for Haswatch.
Bunch of wanko.
You all wanted it, it's back, and so was Nikita Mazepin's wonky chassis, though that wouldn't be his latest excuse in Saudi Arabia. This weekend in FP2, Mazepin claimed that he couldn't see through his visor, though let's be honest, we've all known that he was blind for a while now. Nikita would at least get a taste of his own medicine on Saturday, as he exhibited an uncharacteristic level of skill to avoid the slow-moving Lewis Hamilton. The Brit was on a bit of a warpath in final practice, doing the deteriorating relations between France and the UK no help by blocking Pierre Gasly into turn 1. These incidents, among others, got #blessed called to the stewards before qualifying, who decided that they didn't want to be Dutch anymore, letting him off with only a reprimand. Might as well add here that Red Bull have appealed this decision, because of course they have. Christian Horner could at least celebrate that his golden boy Max Verstappen was quickest in final practice, with Perez deciding not to be for once and finishing in the top 3 as well. And all that takes us to qualifying then, with a big surprise early on being the Aston Martins failing to progress through Q1. Turns out the only thing on fire at the Silverstone-based team was their wind tunnel facility earlier in the week. There were also worries at Mercedes, as Valtteri Bottas started to complain of misfiring, having required his 769th engine change the year before qualifying. This was thankfully resolved and the Finn could return for Q2, where the bad luck shifted over to Ferrari's Carlos Sainz. We know the team are likely going to have a driver dilemma in the next few years, with Mick Schumacher waiting in the wings while Sainz and Leclerc put in solid performances for the main team. However, trying to kill the Spaniard I'm not too sure is the best way of going about fixing it. Honestly, the car had its arse out so much I'm surprised the Saudi Arabian government didn't have it locked up in a prison cell. And look, if you think these chokes are on edge, you should just see the ones that were left of the cutting room floor. Guys, I'm genuinely holding myself back here. Carlos was able to survive the ordeal but was unable to post a representative lap time, joining Russell, Alonso, Raikkonen and Ricciardo in the Q2 drop zone. He wasn't the only one struggling with a twitchy rear end though, as Lewis Hamilton found it difficult to keep his car out of the barriers on the first runs of Q3. Max Verstappen would put in a much better effort, going 3/10 faster than his championship rival after the first set of runs. #Blessed then would need all the blessings in the world to snatch pole back, jumping ahead of the Flying Dutchman to secure provisional pole in his final lap in qualifying. But Max was still driving the wheels off his Red Bull, flirting with the walls at every opportunity, and being pinpoint accurate with all the corners, apart from the last one. Max's mistake gifted Mercedes a potential championship-defining 1-2 ahead of the race on Sunday, and also allowed Jos Verstappen to audition for the Incredible Hulk in Red Bull hospitality. So let's not waste any more time and jump right into that race then, shall we? The race started fairly cleanly, which I think will be the last time I use that word today. The top three stayed line astern, as Perez for a second thought he was a Mercedes driver, nearly turning the two Red Bull cars into the sequel to the Human Centipede. So with the Mercedes controlling the pace, this was the point where everybody sat back, relaxed, and prepared to fall asleep, as the race looked set to be one of those boring DRS trains for 50 laps. But oh boy, how wrong we were. The action would start 10 laps into the race, when Mick Schumacher got bored of the Jeddah Corniche circuit, opting instead to head to the beach early and bury his Haas in the wall at turn 22. Not gonna lie though, if I'd been driving the Haas all year, I'd probably have done the same thing. The Mercedes team opted to pit their cars under the safety car that followed, and give up track position to Max Verstappen, and this at the time made sense, given that it was only a safety car and Max would drop back if there wasn't another one later on. So game, set, match for #blessed, right? Well, far from it. You see, after 10 minutes of the safety car trundling around, Michael Massey decided to use his signature move and bring out his favourite red flag, allowing Red Bull a free pit stop and making Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes a little bit angry in the process. But it was still early days, and with another standing start to contend with, anything could still happen. And this time Hamilton got the better start, and looked all but set to take the lead of the race into turn 1. Max Verstappen, however, clearly had other ideas, taking an interesting line through the first corner and forcing Lewis to drop back into third behind Esteban Ocon. The bigger focus, however, was on the rear of the field, as Perez forgot he wasn't playing the Formula 1 game anymore, finding himself shocked and confused after Leclerc's car didn't ghost when he squeezed him into the wall. This caused a chain reaction, ending in Nikita Mazepin penetrating George Russell's arsehole, in a move that I'll admit was probably not his fault for once. So enter red flag number 2. During the stoppage, all the talk was on the championship protagonists, as Red Bull admitted in a rare occurrence that they did something wrong, agreeing to shuffle Max behind Ocon and Hamilton ahead of the third standing start of the day. As the lights went out again, Max got a fantastic start from P3, leaping down the inside and taking the lead as Hamilton clashed with Ocon. So now everyone had gotten through safely, we could finally go racing, with #Bless quickly dispatching the Alpine of Ocon, the fastest the French have lost out since 1939. Anyway, now it was game on between the championship duo. However, Yuki Tsunoda wasn't such a big fan of the focus not being on him, deciding to get back on the big screens by yeeting Sebastian Vettel off the track at turn 1. This would just be the start of what turned out to be a nightmare race for the German, who found his car shedding parts like a cheap stripper over the course of the race. Kimi Raikkonen giving his old teammate a leaving present didn't really help lift his mood either. Back to the battle for the lead, and by this point Hamilton had clawed the gap down to under a second. However, a move around the outside was thwarted after Verstappen took his interesting turn 1 line again. And if you thought this race wasn't messy enough already, well, just you wait, because this is where the Red Bull size really hits the fan. Max was asked to give the position back to Lewis, deciding the best way to do this was just to stop dead in the middle of the circuit. And you know what, I can't see any problems coming from that whatsoever. Lewis found himself driving into the back of Verstappen, in a move that prompted Toto Wolff to upgrade from smashing tables to testing the durability of Bose headphones. Now I'll get onto my thoughts on this later, but let's just say I wasn't a happy bunny about this, despite trying my best to stay neutral this year. I'll leave it up to you guys to decide how well I've done at that. Since Max never gave up the position, the FIA slapped him with that 5-second penalty regardless, and after some more playground bickering between Michael Masi and the heads of Mercedes and Red Bull, Hamilton found himself back past Verstappen again, and well on his way to his 8th victory of the season. With Verstappen seemingly giving up at this point for some reason, the big question in the closing laps was who would be finishing third, between Esteban Ocon and Porridge Man. This battle turned out to be so interesting that the F1 TV crews opted instead to show Lewis trundling around on his final lap, but in the end, Bottas just about pipped Ocon to the line, breaking the hearts of all 2 of his fans out there. And that's about it. Oh, apart from Verstappen getting driver of the day despite driving like I would on the Formula 1 game. So yeah, perhaps this is a spicy take, but up until this weekend, had Max won the championship, I'd have said he deserved it. However, at the state of his driving today, I just don't feel that way anymore. For me, this time he just overstepped the mark, and it does worry me a little bit that we could see a Senna Prost repeat next week at Abu Dhabi. Anyway, we've only got 7 days to find out, and provided I don't decide to die again, I'll be covering it right here on the channel. So be sure to drop the video a like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content and looking forward to next week. Let me know in the comments what you thought of all the Hamilton-Verstappen drama, and I'll try to reply to as many as I can as always. But for now, that's all from me, so I'll see you soon in another video, but until then, have a good one.